Cruise news time, and well, Norwegian Cruise Line, they've made a series of decisions over the last couple weeks, and it's got passengers scratching their head, maybe clenching their teeth with frustration. Royal Caribbean and MSC both over the last few days have rescued passengers at sea, and we've got one of the Carnival Corporation brands doing something that you don't hear about a lot. They're giving their crew members a raise. A raise. Which one do you think it is? And have you ever been so sure of a thing that you would put your money where your mouth is? A sure thing. It's what every gambler wants. And there was one this past week that I got to tell you about. And it's $1.4 million sure thing. Wait till you hear how this turns out. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. It is Monday the 16th of January, 2023, and I am back in the Sunshine State of Florida, where when we went out this morning, it was 36 degrees, and the windows had to be defrosted. Florida, what are you doing to me, baby? Mother Nature, can I send you a gift card or something so you can warm it up down here in Florida? I know every time I talk about it being cold in Florida, somebody that lives in the Arctic Circle is like, well, it's 15 degrees. Yeah, it's supposed to be 15 degrees below minus negative 85 in the Arctic Circle. We live where there's oranges growing. And you need more than 36 degrees for oranges to grow. Come on, man. Can I get some sympathy down here in Florida? I'm just kidding. I just came from summertime in Australia and New Zealand. Had a wild flight home yesterday. I got to tell you that story at some point. But it's been a minute since we talked about the cruise news, and there's a lot of cruise news to talk about. Let's look. I'm basically gonna rail against Norwegian Cruise Line for the next few minutes, and it's tough for me to do because some of the fondest memories of my cruising since the cruise restart have been on Norwegian Cruise Line cruise ships. I've really been talking them up and telling people to try them out, but now I'm starting to feel a little hesitancy. 3 stories about Norwegian Cruise Line, and I think they each get progressively worse. I'll start with one that's more of a minor inconvenience than a big deal. Norwegian Cruise Line returning to the in-person muster drill. If you've not been keeping up with cruising during the pandemic, the cruise lines went to a self-check-in muster drill. Basically the same process, but instead of doing it with a group of people, you would just do it on your own. You would go to your muster station, you would see where your lifeboat was, you'd learn about the life jacket, and you would do that at your own leisure as you got onto the cruise ship, and you didn't have to wait for everybody to get together and do it. And look, that system works great, but the one challenge is the people that don't do it. And the people that don't do it, well, I think they've ruined it for the rest of us. Every time you go on a cruise nowadays, there's endless announcements. Please complete your muster drill. Please complete. Because there's just some holdout out there that can't take the 5 to 10 minutes to go to their muster station and get their freaking card checked off. It's literally the easiest thing that you can do on the cruise besides falling into the pool. And that's what I'm saying. That's not even easy to do. So thank you, you bunch of yahoos that could not go to the muster drill and get checked off. And I feel like the cruise lines are now combating that by going, okay, if you guys can't come to the muster drill, we'll just go back to the old way where we shut everything down and we force everybody to go to the muster drill all at the same time. And well, in our Facebook group, there were these pictures posted from the Norwegian Cruise Line Breakaway cruise where everybody is gathering en masse for their muster drill. And well, guess what my next cruise ship is going to be? Yes, that's right, the NCL Breakaway in just a couple weeks. Thank you again, yahoos, or whatever descriptive name you want to use. So there's one. Norwegian Cruise Line making the tough decision to combat the yahoos, going back to the in-person muster drill. Oh, what a beautiful morning! Okay, I got to keep my blood pressure down for the show, honestly. Cruise news story number 2 dealing with Norwegian. This one happened right before the new year, so it's a couple weeks old, but I haven't talked about it yet. Norwegian Cruise Line going to the 1 per day room service. And again, the going from 2 to 1 service a day, not that earth-shaking. That's starting to become the standard in all of cruising. But the way that they're getting there is interesting. They are going to be eliminating a couple multiple positions in their crew and establishing a new position and then rearranging the wages. Before this change, there were two positions on Norwegian cruise ships. There was a stateroom steward and a junior stateroom steward. The standard wage for the stateroom steward is higher than that of the junior stateroom steward. They've eliminated those two positions, and now they've come up with just one position called the stateroom attendant. And guess where their salary is going to be? You had the stateroom steward here, you had the junior stateroom steward here. Well, the stateroom attendant's going to be right there in the middle, and so the other people, their salaries are going to adjust. So good news for the junior stateroom steward, but bad news for people that were the just regular stateroom steward. Their wage will decrease so that we can get to equilibrium with the new title. Look, it's business, and I get it. But if you've ever been an employee in a scenario where they're like, hey, sorry, but we're cutting your wage, it's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling. So I'm assuming there's going to be a few former stateroom stewards that are like, what the heck? Thanks for the new title and the pay decrease. It is good news for the juniors, but yeah, I guess that's the way it works. Cruise news story number 3 coming from Norwegian Cruise Line. They've decided that they're spending too much money on the onboard entertainment, and they're going to cut it back. Now, one of the things that made Norwegian Cruise Line the darling cruise line for me for late 2021 and all of 2022 is the fantastic entertainment on board. For example, when we took the NCL Encore to Alaska this year, they had some amazing entertainment, including 2 big-time production shows, The Choir of Man and Kinky Boots. And I don't know why I didn't really see the writing on the wall. It certainly cost a lot of money to have 2 production shows like that on board. They had different cast. So you had a cast for Choir of Men, you had a cast for Kinky Boots. That's a whole lot of entertainment spend for an included amenity. You don't have to pay any extra to go to these shows. And so, yeah, I'm sure when the bean counters, the wing nuts, the corporate folks were trying to scratch their head and saying, how can we decrease our overall operating expense without increasing the prices of our cruise, making us less competitive because so many cruises are picked on the base price alone? How can we do it? And somebody said, well, why are we paying for 2 production shows on the Encore, for example? You know what we could do? We could just cut Kinky Boots. We still would have the Choir of Men on those ships that have both. And they got warm to the idea, and they sent out letters to the cast of Kinky Boots and said, your services are no longer needed. Cruise ship entertainment, it is fascinating. I've talked to several entertainers on board, and it's a mix between full-time entertainers on board and people that are just contracted to come in and do a couple days. And look, I don't have any of the numbers on this, so I'm purely speculating here. But to me, it seems like the bringing people in for 1 or 2 days and putting them up for a couple days and feeding them for a couple days, it's probably less expensive than having a full-time staff member that you've got to provide everything for. I guess it makes sense. It's going to be interesting to go and see how the entertainment is on the Breakaway to see if there's any noticeable cutbacks. But as someone who loves to cruise because of entertainment, I was really bummed out to hear this story. I'd love to hear what you think about this, and even if you don't cruise on Norwegian Cruise Line, I think you can contextualize it. What if all of a sudden they started cutting back on the entertainment on your favorite cruise ship? Would you just say, hey, that's the world that we live in now, all the prices are going up, that's the way it is, cruising? Or would you be bummed out, or would it be a mix of both? Leave a comment below. Cruise news story number 4, we're going to talk about Royal Caribbean and MSC rescuing people at sea. This is a cool story. MSC Meraviglia rescued 24 people that they found in the ocean on a makeshift raft on Saturday, January the 14th, as they were enjoying a day at sea, heading back to Port Canaveral. Look, it's Cuban refugees. It seems like there's more instances of it this year. Almost every week we have one of these stories. Folks are trying to get out of Cuba. Again, that's the problem that we really don't have a solution to. Folks are getting out into the sea and they're getting into trouble, and cruise ships are doing their part to save these people. And also on the very same day, Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas pulling 17 passengers out of the ocean, also thought to be Cuban immigrants, migrants, refugees trying to make their way away from Cuba. Again, this problem continues on. Cruise ships continue to be in the middle of that issue, continue to do their part, saving people. And it's good that the cruise ships are out there doing that, but it does make you think, wow, there's got to be some sort of solution to this problem. But yeah, it's not something, I guess, that we can solve. But way to go to those captains and to those cruise ships and to those crews stepping in and saving lives. Kudos. Way to go. How about that? Now, I got to talk about two more things. I got to talk about a Carnival Corporation company that's actually raising the wage for their crew members. I got to tell you about the Sure Bet, the $1.4 million Sure Bet. I got so much more to tell you. I had a cool day in Sydney. I toured a submarine. I got to share that video with you. I can't do that today. But before I do any of that, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, well, I'm your man. Howdy, everybody. If you're brand new here, my name's Tony, and, well, I like to talk about cruising. Welcome to the show. Look, you can be part of the first people to see the show. You can be a part of the notification squad. If you're really on the ball, you could be the squad leader, but the only way that you're going to get that done is having the notification bell on. Don't miss an episode. Thank you in advance. All right, AIDA Cruise Line. AIDA is a cruise line in Germany, and they're owned by Carnival Corporation, a Carnival subsidiary. And, well, they're increasing the wages for their crew members. That's right. I said they're actually increasing the wage of their crew members. We hear so many stories about, let's increase the gratuities so that we can increase the wage of the crew member. Nope. AIDA said, look, we'll do it ourselves. They said, look, when we restarted, we added about 7,000 crew members to what was already in place. Since then, we've also added another 6,000 crew members to what's in place, and now we've got about 15,000 crew members. They've been doing a great job for us, and, well, we are going to give them an increase. They had a lot of stuff rolling pre-pandemic to make the life of the crew member better, and so now they're starting to enact some of those things. Specifically, when it comes to the pay raise, they're going to be increasing the wages of their crew members 2.5% starting in February of 2023, and then they're going to give them another raise in July of another 2.5%. So over the next few months, there's going to be about a 5% increase for wages for those crew members. And they're also going to be tweaking the leave benefit for first-time crew members and for hotel officers, increasing how much leave days they're given. So bang on, AIDA. I've said this before. Cruising is one of the weirdest things that at least I partake in, because in really no other business do I sit there and try to calculate if the people that are providing a service for me make enough money. Very rarely do I go to a retail outlet here in the United States and go, oh, I wonder if that person's making enough money. Or if I go get my oil changed, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that person's making enough money. But it's wild when it comes to cruising, because we have that intimate interaction with crew members and we see the massive amount of hours and the service that they provide. We're like, is that person making enough money? And, you know, so it's nice to see a cruise line stepping up and saying, look, we're trying to make sure that these people make enough money. So thank you, AIDA, for being an example in the industry. Way to go. How about that? Now, let's talk about gambling. I like gambling. You guys know that I'm a big fan of testing the fates. I would rather spend $100 testing the fates at the casino than $100 for a sporting event ticket or a concert ticket or an amusement park ticket. I would rather test the fates than do that with my entertainment money. But notice I call it entertainment money. It's a slippery slope, gambling, because not everybody treats their gambling money as entertainment money. Some people will hang their financial security on testing the fates, hoping to get rich or make money. You can't do that, because you're definitely going to get yourself in trouble. And, well, I think I have a story that, well, it kind of blew my mind. Here's the scenario. You can bet on sporting events, many places, but you can certainly do it in the United States. And one of the most popular sporting events to bet on is National Football League, NFL football. And what's wild is, with the rise of the internet betting sites, you can bet on almost any aspect of the game at any time in the game. So we had a scenario just a couple days ago where the LA Chargers were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and late into the game, the LA Chargers had amassed a 27-0 lead over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And like I said, you can bet on almost any aspect of the game at almost any time in the game. And, well, there was a sports book out there offering a bet that the Chargers would win. It's a sure thing, right? They're up 27-0, not much time left in the game. They were offering a bet that the Chargers would win. Now, because the bet was so much of a sure thing, it didn't pay a lot of money. And so this is where it takes a crazy turn. Somebody was so confident that the LA Chargers would win after being up 27-0 that they made a bet for $1.4 million that the Chargers would win that game. If their bet paid off, they got $11,000. $11,000 in return. Let that sink in. You're risking $1.4 million to get an $11,000 return. And I don't know if that's super clear to the non-gambler out there. You would also get your $1.4 million back. So when I say you're risking $1.4 million to win $11,000, the $11,000 is the profit. So you would get your $1.4 million back plus $11,000. And I guess in your mind you could rationalize it. If it was a sure thing, if there was no way possible for Jacksonville to come back and beat the LA Chargers, then it's an easy $11,000. Well, do you know how the game turned out? That's right. Jacksonville beat the LA Chargers. They came back with little time left, and they beat the Chargers. And whoever placed the $1.4 million bet is out. $1.4 million. That's crazy. I certainly don't have the bankroll or the gumption, the cojones, the intestinal fortitude to make that kind of bet. Have you heard of any bet that's crazier? Wow. Did you like to test the fates? Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I got two favors. Favor number one, could you please hit the like button? And favor number two, YouTube is going to recommend a video to you they think that you should watch next. Is that a La Lido Loca video or something else? If you could leave that comment, that would be super helpful. This is Tony for La Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. You can bet on it. Bye.